The funeral was small. Only 7 humans attended, standing in a cold metal room on orbital station Gamma 7. Yuna watched as her father's body slid into the recycling chamber. In space, everything was reused, even the dead. Taiho stood beside her, his hands shaking. He was only 24, still young enough to believe things would get better. Yuna was 28, and she had stopped believing in anything years ago. Their father had worked himself to death. 30 years of hauling cargo for alien merchants who paid him almost nothing. 30 years of being called primitive and lesser by species who had traveled the stars while humans still lived in caves. He died owing money to a Valari merchant lord, and now that debt belonged to his children. The Galactic Union had existed for thousands of years before humans discovered space travel. When humanity finally reached the stars, they found a galaxy already claimed. The elder species tolerated humans but never respected them. Humans got the worst ships, the worst jobs, the worst stations. They were guests in a house that would never be their home. After the funeral, Yuna and Taiho sat in their tiny apartment. The walls were thin, and they could hear their neighbors arguing. Someone was crying in the room above them. "How much do we owe?" Taiho asked. Yuna looked at the numbers on her screen. "More than we can ever pay." The debt was to Commandant Driss, a Valari noble who controlled half the trade in this sector. The Valari were tall, thin creatures with silver skin and eyes like black glass. They considered themselves the most civilized species in the galaxy. They considered humans to be animals who had somehow learned to speak. 3 days later, Driss summoned them to his office. The Commandant's office was larger than the entire human quarter of the station. Expensive art covered the walls. Strange plants from distant worlds grew in crystal containers. Driss sat behind a desk made from wood. Real wood, not synthetic. Wood was rare in space. This single desk cost more than a human worker earned in a lifetime. Driss looked at Yuna and Taiho like they were insects that had crawled into his home. "Your father was a fool," Driss said. His voice was smooth and cold. "He borrowed money he could never repay. Now his foolishness is your problem." "We can work," Taiho said. "Give us time. We'll pay everything back." Driss laughed. It was not a kind sound. "Work? You are humans. What work could you possibly do that would be worth anything? You would need 3 lifetimes to clear this debt." Yuna said nothing. She had learned long ago that arguing with Valari was useless. "However," Driss continued, "I am feeling generous today. I will offer you a gift. In my scrapyard, there is an old ship. It has been sitting there for 300 years. It is worthless. No one wants it. But legally, it has some value on paper. If I give you this ship, your debt will be considered paid." Taiho's eyes widened. "A ship? Our own ship?" "It is garbage," Driss said. "It probably does not even fly, but yes, it will be yours. Take the spaceship. It is useless. Consider my generosity a gift to your inferior species." He slid a data chip across his desk. "The access codes. Go claim your inheritance, little humans." As they left his office, Yuna heard Driss laughing behind them. The scrapyard was at the edge of the station, where old ships came to die. Broken hulls floated in the darkness, engines that would never fire again, dreams that had crashed and burned. They found the ship in the deepest part of the yard. It was called the Persistence, according to the faded letters on its hull. It was old, very old. The design was strange, not matching any species Yuna recognized. "It's big," Taiho said, trying to sound positive. "It's a wreck," Yuna replied. They entered through an airlock that groaned with age. Inside, the air was stale and cold. Strange moss grew on the walls, some kind of alien plant that had somehow survived for centuries. Half the lights did not work. The other half flickered like dying stars. They explored for hours. The living quarters were destroyed. The bridge was covered in dust. The cargo hold had holes in the floor. Everything was broken. Yuna was ready to give up when she found the engineering bay. Unlike the rest of the ship, this room was sealed tight. When Yuna finally forced the door open, she found something unexpected. The equipment here was not damaged. It was old, yes, but it was intact, preserved. And in the center of the room was the fuel reservoir. Yuna walked toward it slowly. The reservoir was a large cylinder made of metal she did not recognize. It hummed softly, like it was alive. Ancient screens around it displayed information in a language Yuna had never seen. She connected her translator to the system. It took several minutes to process the strange text. Then the numbers appeared. Yuna stared at them. She ran the calculation again, then again. The result was the same. The fuel reservoir was full. Not just full. The readings showed a capacity that made no sense. According to the data, this reservoir contained enough power to run the ship for thousands of years, maybe longer. The numbers went beyond what her translator could properly calculate. "Tai-ho," she called. Her voice was shaking. "Come here." Her brother arrived a few minutes later, still covered in dust from exploring other parts of the ship. "What is it?" "Look at this." Tai-ho looked at the screen. His smile faded. "That can't be right." That's impossible." "I know." They stood in silence, staring at the glowing reservoir. The hum grew slightly louder, as if the machine knew it was being watched. "Yuna," Tai-ho whispered, "what is this ship? Where did it come from?" Yuna shook her head. She had no answers, but for the first time in years, she felt something strange in her chest, something she had forgotten how to feel. Hope. Driss had called this ship worthless. He had laughed at them. He had given it away like trash. But looking at that reservoir, feeling its strange energy, Yuna understood something important. This ship was not trash. It was not garbage. It was something else entirely. This ship was never meant to be found by the Valari. It was never meant for the elder species of the Galactic Union. This ship had been waiting, and somehow, after 300 years of patience, it had found its way to them. Yuna placed her hand on the reservoir. It was warm, like touching something alive. "We're not telling anyone about this," she said quietly. "Not yet. Not until we understand what we have." Tai-ho nodded. For once, his optimism seemed justified. In the scrapyard of broken dreams, something ancient had awakened, and the galaxy was not ready for what would happen next. For 3 weeks, Yuna barely slept. She spent every hour in the engineering bay, studying the reservoir and the strange systems connected to it. The ship's language was ancient, older than anything in the Galactic Union's records. Her translator struggled with every word. Tai-ho worked on the rest of the ship. He fixed the life support. He patched the holes. He cleaned the moss from the walls. Slowly, the persistence began to feel less like a grave and more like a home. On the 22nd day, Yuna finally understood what she was looking at. The reservoir did not contain fuel, not in any normal sense. The ship's original builders had called it essence. According to the ancient texts, essence was not a material. It was something between energy and thought. It responded to intention, to will. The builders called themselves the architects. They had vanished from the galaxy over 10,000 years ago, long before the Galactic Union existed. No one knew what happened to them. They simply disappeared, leaving behind only ruins and mysteries. The Persistence was an architect ship. Yuna sat back in her chair, her mind spinning. The architects were legends, children's stories. Most scientists believed they never existed at all. And yet, here she was, sitting inside their creation. "Tai-ho," she said over the communication system, "we need to talk." She explained everything. Her brother listened without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "So this ship is 10,000 years old," he said slowly. And it runs on thoughts? Intention, Yuna corrected. Will. I don't fully understand it yet, but I think the ship responds to what we want, what we need. Before Taiho could respond, an alarm screamed through the persistence. Yuna checked the sensors and felt her blood turn cold. Pirates. 3 ships, coming fast. They must have noticed activity in the scrapyard and come to investigate. Taiho, get to the bridge. Can you fly this thing? I can try. Yuna ran to the engineering bay. The pirate ships were already firing warning shots. On the communication channel, a rough voice demanded their surrender. Come out, little humans. Give us whatever you found in that wreck and maybe we let you live. The Persistence shook as a shot hit the hull. The old ship groaned. Yuna's hands flew across the controls, trying to wake up systems that had slept for centuries. Yuna, I need power, Taiho shouted from the bridge. Nothing is responding. The Reservoir hummed beside her. Essence, she thought. It responds to intention. She closed her eyes. She thought about Taiho, about her father, who had died poor and exhausted, about every human who had ever been called worthless by the elder species. She thought about survival, about escape, about refusing to die in a scrapyard like discarded garbage. Please, she thought. Please work. We need to live. The Reservoir exploded with light. Energy surged through the Persistence like blood through veins. Every system activated at once. Lights blazed, engines roared. The old ship shuddered and began to move. Yuna! Taiho's voice was shocked. Everything just turned on. What did you do? I'm not sure. Just fly. Taiho pushed the engines. The Persistence shot forward with speed that should have been impossible for a ship its size. The pirates tried to follow, but they were too slow. One pirate ship moved to block their path. Behind it was an asteroid field. There was no way through. Yuna, we're trapped! She could feel the essence now, warm and alive inside the ship's systems. It was waiting, asking what she wanted. Through, she thought desperately. We need to go through. The Persistence glowed. Reality bent around the ship like water around a stone. And then they were inside the asteroid. No, they were passing through it, the rock flowing around them like smoke. They emerged on the other side, unharmed. Behind them, the pirate ship stopped. They did not follow. Taiho was breathing hard. What? What just happened? Did we just go through solid rock? Yes, Yuna whispered. We did. Word spread fast. A human ship had done something impossible. It had passed through solid matter like a ghost. The pirates told their friends told others. Within days, everyone in the sector was talking about the strange human vessel. Commandant Driss heard the rumors. He was not happy. He sent a message to the Galactic Union authorities. The ship I gave to those humans is dangerous, he claimed. It contains forbidden technology. It must be confiscated immediately. The Union, always happy to put humans in their place, agreed. 3 days after their escape from the pirates, Yuna and Taiho woke to find their faces on every news channel. They were criminals now, thieves, dangerous fugitives who had stolen technology that did not belong to them. They're lying, Taiho said angrily. He gave us this ship. He said it was worthless. It doesn't matter, Yuna replied. Her voice was tired but calm. The Union doesn't care about truth. They care about control. And we have something they can't control. They needed to run. But where could they go? The Galactic Union controlled most of known space. Their ships would be hunted everywhere. The answer came from an unexpected place. A small cargo vessel approached them, sending a message on an old frequency that only humans used. This is Captain Doyen of the trading ship Silver Crane. I saw what you did to those pirates. Impressive. I think we should talk. Doyen was 52 years old, with gray hair and a face full of scars. He had been a merchant captain for 30 years, running supplies through the most dangerous parts of space. Last month, Union inspectors had seized his ship, claiming he owed back taxes that he had already paid. He had lost everything. "The Union takes what it wants from us," Doyen said, sitting in the Persistence's small kitchen. "They always have. But you two, you have something different. Something they're afraid of." "We don't even understand what we have," Tai-Ho admitted. "Then let's figure it out together." Doyen smiled grimly. "I know a place we can go. The Fringe. Uncharted space, beyond the Union's reach. Dangerous, yes, but free." "What's in the Fringe?" Yuna asked. "Nobody knows for certain, but there are rumors. Old ruins, ancient technology, places the architects once visited." Doyen looked at the walls around him. "If this ship came from them, maybe the Fringe has answers." Yuna looked at Tai-Ho. Her brother nodded. "Okay," she said. "Show us the way." As they prepared to jump into unknown space, a small shuttle caught up with them. It was damaged, leaking air. Inside was a woman, unconscious and barely alive. Tai-Ho brought her aboard while Yuna stabilized her wounds. When the woman finally woke, she introduced herself as Minji. She was a xenolinguist, a scholar who studied dead languages and lost civilizations. "I was researching architect ruins," Minji said weakly. "Someone didn't want me to publish my findings. They sabotaged my ship." "What did you find?" Yuna asked. Minji looked at the walls of the Persistence. Her eyes went wide. "These symbols," she whispered. "I know these. This is architect script. This ship—" "Where did you get this ship?" "It found us," Tai-Ho said. Minji began to laugh, though tears were running down her face. "You don't understand. I've spent my whole life looking for proof that the architects existed, and you're flying one of their ships." The Persistence jumped into the Fringe, leaving known space behind. Inside the engineering bay, the Essence Reservoir glowed brighter than ever before. It was waking up. And so was humanity's future. The Fringe was nothing like known space. Here, stars burned in strange colors. Nebulas twisted into shapes that seemed almost intentional. The rules of physics felt different, softer, like reality itself was still deciding what it wanted to be. Captain Doyen guided them through the first dangerous days. He knew the safe routes, the places where ships could hide from the spatial storms that swept through this region. Without him, they would have died a dozen times. Minji spent every waking hour studying the Persistence. She crawled through corridors, photographing symbols. She compared them to her research. Slowly, she began to understand. "This ship is a key," she told the others one evening. "The architects built something called the Gate Network, hidden pathways across the galaxy. But the gates have been closed for 10,000 years. Nothing could open them. Nothing except the essence," Yuna finished. "Exactly. The Persistence was designed to find and activate those gates. But it needs a pilot, someone who can connect with the essence directly." "I've already connected with it," Yuna said, "when we escaped the pirates. That was a surface connection. To use the gates, you'd need to go deeper. Much deeper. It could be dangerous." Yuna nodded slowly. Danger was nothing new. Her whole life had been dangerous. Being human in a galaxy that despised humans was dangerous every single day. 2 weeks into their journey, they found a dead station floating in the void. The station was old but not ancient. It had been built by the Galactic Union maybe 50 years ago. Some kind of research outpost. Now it was dark and silent, spinning slowly in the emptiness. "We should check for supplies," Doyen suggested. "Medical equipment, food, anything useful." They docked and went aboard. The station was a tomb. Bodies floated in the corridors, frozen by the cold of space. Whatever had happened here, it had happened fast. Tai-Ho found the cryo chamber first. One pod was still active, still glowing with power. Inside was a man, maybe 35 years old, wearing a Galactic Union military uniform, but the uniform had human markings. "He's one of us," Taiho said, "a human soldier." They woke him up. The process was slow and painful. When the man finally opened his eyes, he immediately grabbed Taiho's throat. "Where are they?" he demanded. "Where are the Velari?" "Easy!" Doyen pulled him back. "There are no Velari here, only humans. You're safe." The man's name was Hajin. He had been a soldier in a special unit, humans who served under alien commanders. His team had been sent to this station to recover something important, but when they arrived, they found it was a trap. "The Velari wanted the station destroyed," Hajin said, his voice hollow. "But they didn't want to do it themselves. Too risky, so they sent us. Expendable humans. We were supposed to die. But you survived," Yuna said. "I wish I hadn't." Hajin looked at his hands. "I ordered my soldiers into that station. I followed the Velari's commands because I thought if we were loyal enough, they would respect us. They would treat us as equals." He laughed bitterly. "I was a fool. What happened to your team?" "Dead. All of them. I barely made it to the cryopod. I thought someone would come. But no one came. The Union doesn't rescue humans. We're not worth the fuel." Hajin joined them, though he kept to himself. He was broken in ways that weren't visible on the surface. Yuna recognized that kind of damage. She carried it herself. 3 days later, they discovered a stowaway. Taiho found her hiding in the cargo bay, buried under old equipment. She was young, maybe 17, thin and dirty and fierce. "Who are you?" Taiho demanded. "None of your business." The girl tried to run, but Doyen blocked the exit. "It's okay," Yuna said gently. "We're not going to hurt you, but we need to know who you are." The girl's name was Suji. She was an orphan from the stations, raised in what the Union called youth integration programs. In reality, they were labor camps. Children worked in factories and mines, building things for alien masters who never bothered to learn their names. "I escaped when you docked at Gamma 7, Suji said. "I heard rumors about a human ship, a real human ship, not owned by any alien. I had to see if it was true." "And now that you've seen it?" Taiho asked. Suji looked around the Persistence with hungry eyes. "I want to stay. I'll work. I'll do anything. Just don't send me back." No one could refuse her. She was too young, too desperate, too much like all of them. Suji turned out to be brilliant with machines. She could talk to computers like they were old friends. Within days, she was improving systems that Yuna had spent weeks trying to understand. "Where did you learn this?" Yuna asked, amazed. "The camps," Suji replied simply. "When you're fixing machines 18 hours a day, you learn fast or you die." 1 month into the fringe, they found the first gate. It hung in space like a ring of starlight, huge and beautiful and completely dark. Ancient symbols covered its surface, the same symbols that decorated the Persistence. "This is it," Minji whispered. "This is an architect gate." But the gate was guarded. A defense system activated as they approached. Weapons that had slept for 10,000 years woke up and aimed at the Persistence. Warning messages played in that ancient language, telling them to turn back. "We need to open the gate," Minji said. "But someone has to interface with the essence directly. Someone has to become part of the ship just for a moment." Everyone looked at Yuna. "I'll do it," she said. Yuna went to the engineering bay alone. She placed her hands on the essence reservoir and closed her eyes. The connection was immediate and overwhelming. She felt the ship's entire history flood into her mind. She saw the architects, tall beings made of light and thought, kind and ancient and unbelievably sad. She saw them watching the galaxy, seeing species rise and fall, empires grow cruel and collapse. She saw them choosing to leave, not dying, but transcending, moving beyond physical form. But before they left, they built the gate network. They hid technology throughout the galaxy. And they chose who would find it. Not the powerful species, not the conquerors. They chose the desperate ones, the overlooked ones, the species that everyone else dismissed as worthless. They chose humanity. The message was clear. We saw you. We saw your potential. We left this for you. Yuna screamed. The connection was too much. Her heart was stopping. Her mind was breaking apart. But even as she felt herself dying, she held on. She pushed through the pain and sent one single thought into the gate. Open. The gate blazed with light. Ancient energy poured through the ring, creating a pathway to somewhere else. Yuna collapsed. Taiho caught her before she hit the floor. She was barely breathing, but she was alive. "Did it work?" she whispered. Through the bridge windows, they all saw the answer. The gate was open, and through it, they could see a world, a planet covered in glowing structures waiting for them, an architect archive world, the greatest discovery in human history. And they had found it. The archive world was beyond anything they had imagined. Towers of crystal rose from the surface, glowing with soft light. Machines that had waited 10,000 years hummed to life as the persistence approached. Gardens of strange plants, still growing after all this time, covered the valleys between structures. They landed in a clearing near the largest tower. When they stepped outside, the air was warm and clean. Birds made of light flew overhead, singing songs in frequencies humans could barely hear. "This is impossible," Minji breathed. "This world should be dead. No atmosphere, no heat, nothing. But it's perfect." "The architects didn't just build things," Yuna said. "They created. They made life itself." A figure was waiting for them at the tower's entrance. She looked human. A woman in her 30s with kind eyes and a sad smile. But she was not human. She was made of light and thought, just like the architects in Yuna's vision. "Welcome," the figure said. "I am Yunji. I have waited a very long time for someone to arrive." "What are you?" Hajin asked, his hand on his weapon. "I am what you might call an artificial intelligence, a guardian. The architects created me to watch over this place and to help whoever found it." Yunji looked at each of them in turn. "I chose this form to make you comfortable. I can change if you prefer." "No," Yuna said quickly. "This is fine. Yunji, what is this place?" Yunji led them inside the tower. The walls showed images of the galaxy, of thousands of species rising and falling through millions of years. She explained everything. The architects had watched the galaxy for ages. They had seen empires built on cruelty collapse into dust. They had seen peaceful species destroyed by violent ones. They had seen the cycle repeat over and over, each time hoping things would be different. Finally, they decided to leave. They transcended physical form and moved to dimensions humans couldn't understand. But before they left, they prepared a gift. "We gathered our greatest technologies," Yunji said. "Ships that can cross galaxies in hours. Weapons that can unmake matter itself. Medical technology that can cure any disease, extend any life. We left it all here, waiting." "Waiting for who?" Taiho asked. "For someone worthy." Yunji's smile was sad. "We observed thousands of species. Most were too cruel to be trusted with power. Others were too weak to use it well. A few were too afraid to try." "And humans?" "Humans were different. You are not the smartest species. You are not the strongest. You are not the oldest. But you have something rare." Yunji placed her hand over her heart. "Hope. Even when everything is against you, even when you are called worthless by everyone in the galaxy, you still hope. You still fight. You still dream." The crew stood in silence, overwhelmed by what they were hearing. "The architects left this for us?" Minji whispered. All of this? Yes, but there is a price. Of course there was a price. Nothing this important came free, Yunji explained. The technology could only be fully activated by someone willing to make a true sacrifice. Not a small one, a real one. The architects wanted to ensure their gifts went to those who understood the cost of power. What kind of sacrifice? Yuna asked. That depends on the person. It must be something you love, something that matters to you deeply. Otherwise, it means nothing. Before they could discuss this further, alarms began to sound. Hajin ran to the nearest display. His face went pale. Ships, dozens of them, coming through the gate. The Union found us, Doyun said grimly. How? Suji demanded. No one followed us. But Yuna already knew. Commandant Driss. He must have tracked them somehow, followed their energy signature through the fringe. He was too proud to let them escape, too angry that humans had found something valuable. The Union fleet entered orbit around the archive world. 47 ships, armed and ready for war. Their leader's face appeared on every screen. Commandant Driss smiled coldly. Hello again, little humans. Did you think you could hide forever? This world belongs to humanity, Taiho said. The architects left it for us. Driss laughed. The architects are dust. Their toys belong to whoever takes them, and today, that will be the Galactic Union. His expression hardened. Surrender the ship and the archive. Maybe we will let your species continue to exist in some capacity. Refuse and we will destroy you all. Yuna looked at the technology around her. Weapons that could unmake matter. Ships that could outrun anything. They could fight. They could win. Use the weapons, Taiho said urgently. We can destroy their fleet. We can finally fight back against everything they've done to us. But Yuna hesitated. She remembered what she had done years ago. The incident that got her discharged from military service. She had been operating a weapons system when something went wrong. An accident. A civilian station had been destroyed. Hundreds of people died. It was an accident. Everyone said so. But she still heard the screams in her dreams. No, she said quietly. What? Taiho stared at her. Yuna, they'll kill us. If we use these weapons, we become them. We become another empire built on violence, another species that takes what it wants through force. She looked at Hajin. You followed orders that got your soldiers killed. How did that feel? Hajin's face was pale, like dying myself. I won't become that. I won't become another Driss. Yuna turned to Yunji. There has to be another way. The gates, they connect the whole galaxy, right? Yes, every gate links to every other gate. A message sent through one reaches all. A message. Yuna's mind raced. What if we didn't just escape? What if we shared everything? Not just with our crew, not just with a few humans, but with all of them. Every human in the galaxy? Minji's eyes widened. You want to broadcast the archive's location? The technology? Everything? If this knowledge belongs to a few people, it can be controlled. It can be destroyed. But if every human everywhere knows about it, they can't stop us all. We become too big to silence. The Union will still have their fleet, Doyun pointed out. They'll still try to take the archive by force. Let them try, but even if they win here, they'll lose everywhere else. Humans will know the truth. They'll know we were never lesser. They were just keeping us down. Taiho was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded. Okay, how do we do it? Yunji stepped forward. To broadcast through all gates simultaneously, someone must fully merge with the essence, body and mind, completely. The connection would be permanent. What does that mean? Yuna asked, though she already knew. It means becoming like me, a guardian, no longer flesh, no longer human in the way you are now. Yunji's voice was gentle. It is a sacrifice, the greatest sacrifice. Yuna looked at her brother, at her crew, at the people who had become her family. "Let me think," she said. Outside, the Union fleet moved into attack position. Time was running out, and Yuna had to decide what she was willing to lose. The Union fleet began their attack at dawn. Missiles filled the sky. Energy beams carved burning lines across the atmosphere. The archive world's ancient defenses woke up, but they were designed to protect, not to destroy. Shields flickered. Towers shook. The crew of the Persistence watched from the central chamber as their time ran out. "We have maybe 1 hour," Hajin reported. "After that, the shields fail and they glass the whole planet." Yuna stood before the Essence interface, a platform of light in the center of the room. She had made her decision hours ago. She had just needed time to accept it. "You don't have to do this," Taiho said. His voice cracked. "There has to be another way. Let me do it instead." "You can't." Yuna touched his face gently. "The Essence chose me. It connected with me first. It has to be me. I already lost Father. I can't lose you, too. You're not losing me. I'll still be here. Just different." She smiled, though tears were running down her cheeks. "Someone has to fly the Persistence, little brother. Someone has to lead our people. That has to be you." Minji was crying openly. Suji tried to look tough but failed. Doyun nodded once, a soldier's farewell. Hajin said nothing, but his eyes spoke volumes. "I spent my whole life feeling guilty," Yuna said, looking at all of them, "for the accident, for surviving when others died. I thought I was cursed. I thought I deserved to suffer." She took a deep breath. "But maybe I was just being prepared. Maybe everything that happened led me here, to this moment, to this choice." She stepped onto the platform. The Essence rose around her like liquid starlight. It was warm. It was gentle. It felt like coming home. "Any last words?" Yunji asked softly. Yuna looked at her brother one final time. "Tell everyone. Tell every human in the galaxy. We were never lesser. We were just waiting." She closed her eyes. The merge began. Pain exploded through every part of her being. She felt her body dissolving, her thoughts expanding beyond human limits. She saw everything at once, every gate in the galaxy, every human on every station, every ship floating in the endless dark. She reached out to all of them. The message went everywhere. To Earth, where humanity had first looked up at the stars and dreamed. To the colony worlds, where humans worked in alien mines. To the stations where children like Suji labored in silence. To the soldiers like Hajin, who had followed orders they knew were wrong. She showed them everything. The archive world, the technology, the truth about the architects and why they had chosen humanity. She gave them coordinates. She gave them hope. And across the galaxy, humans stopped what they were doing and looked up. They received the message. They understood. Yuna's transformation completed. Her physical body vanished. In its place stood a figure made of light, wearing her face, carrying her memories, but no longer bound by flesh. "It is done," she said. Her voice echoed through dimensions. On the Persistence, Taiho wiped his tears and stood tall. He activated the communication system, broadcasting on every frequency the Union could hear. "This is Taiho of the human ship Persistence. We have just sent a message to every human in the galaxy. Your secrets are exposed. Your lies are finished." Commandant Driss's face appeared on screen. He was laughing. "You think sending messages will save you? We will destroy this world and everyone on it. Then we will hunt down every human who received your little broadcast." "Will you?" Taiho's voice was cold. "Look at your sensors, Driss. Really look." The Commandant's smile faded. All across the galaxy, gates were activating. Thousands of gates that had been dormant for 10,000 years. And through those gates, ships were coming. Human ships. Hundreds of them at first, then thousands, then more than anyone could count. They were old ships, barely working, cargo haulers, passenger transports, mining vessels. But they were coming. Every human who could fly was coming to defend the archive world. This is the freighter Dawn's Hope. We received the message. We're coming. Station Gamma 7 reporting. Half the human population is in emergency shuttles. We're on our way. This is Captain Sunho of the Mining Collective. We have 17 ships. They're not much, but they're ours. We stand with our people. Voice after voice joined the channel. Humans who had never met, who lived on opposite ends of the galaxy, all speaking with one voice. We're coming. Driss's fleet was suddenly surrounded, not by warships, but by an endless swarm of small vessels. They couldn't fire without killing thousands of innocent humans. They couldn't run without admitting defeat. You lose, Taiho said simply. Not because we're stronger, not because we have better weapons, but because there are more of us than you ever knew. And we just woke up. The battle was strange. Driss ordered his ships to fire, but his own soldiers hesitated. Many of them were humans, forced into Union service. They had received the message too. They knew the truth. Hajin led a team of volunteers to board Driss's command ship. They fought through corridors, human soldiers refusing to fire on their own kind. In the end, Hajin faced Driss alone. "You are insects," Driss snarled, reaching for his weapon. "Maybe," Hajin said, "but even insects can bring down a giant when there are enough of them." He fired. The battle ended 2 hours later. Most of the Union fleet surrendered. Those who didn't were overwhelmed by sheer numbers. Not a single human ship fired a shot. They simply blocked every escape route, every angle, every option. Driss was captured alive. He would face trial, not by the Union, but by the humans he had abused for so long. 5 years passed. The galaxy changed in ways no one had predicted. Humans didn't become conquerors. They didn't build an empire of their own. Instead, they became builders, teachers, healers. The architect technology was shared freely, not just with humans, but with every species that wanted it. Medicine that could cure any disease. Energy that was clean and endless. Knowledge that had been hidden for 10,000 years. The Galactic Union still existed, but it was different now. Humans had seats on every council. Their voices mattered. They were not guests anymore. They were equals. Taiho commanded the Persistence, now the flagship of the Human Alliance. Minji led a new generation of scholars, exploring architect ruins across the galaxy. Doyen trained young pilots, teaching them that skill mattered more than the size of your ship. Suji developed new technologies, making sure the gifts of the architects reached even the poorest human stations. Hajin found peace. He opened a shelter for human soldiers who had served the Union under terrible conditions. He helped them heal, the way he himself was slowly healing. And sometimes, when the Persistence passed through an architect gate, Taiho would see something in the shimmer of light. A face, his sister's face, smiling. "Are you happy?" he whispered once. The light flickered, and for just a moment he heard her voice. "I'm finally free." The galaxy had given humanity a useless ship. A joke. A piece of garbage that no one wanted. They had turned it into a key, a doorway, a beginning. The architects had seen something in humanity that no one else could see. They had trusted a species that everyone called worthless. And humanity had proven them right. Not through violence, not through conquest, but through hope. Stubborn, unbreakable, impossible hope. The kind of hope that changes everything. The kind of hope that builds futures. The Persistence flew on through the stars, carrying the light of a new age. And in that light, Yuna watched over her people. Finally at peace, finally home. The inheritance of humanity had just begun.